Click here to subscribe our channel. Do not forget to press the bell icon to get regular updates of free videos.
So we can start with the difference between perceived demand curve and proportional demand curve. Perceived demand curve and proportional demand curve. Perceived and proportional. Just to plot, denote it by capital D and denote this perceived by small d when we are drawing the diagram. Now this perceived demand curve is drawn on the assumption that, or rather the perceived demand curve will show how much demand goes to one firm, how much demand goes to that firm. When one firm changes the price, competitors do not react. When one firm changes the price, but competitors remain passive. So how much demand goes to one firm? When that firm changes the price, others are not following that change in price. So this is the planned sales demand curve. How much sales a firm plan at different prices. So if I draw this planned sales demand curve, it shows what? At any given price, this is the price charged by a firm. At that price, how much quantity will that firm will be able to sell, say Q1. If that firm reduces the price, remember in the market there are many firms, and this is planned sales demand curve for one particular firm. So that particular firm, if that particular firm reduces the price, assuming that others will not react, assuming that other firm will not change the price, they will keep on charging price P1. How much demand goes to one firm, that will be denoted by the planned sales demand curve. So a firm plans to increase its sales by reducing the price, assuming that others are not following it, assuming that others are not following it. So remember, this perceived demand curve is your planned sales demand curve. This is the planned sales demand curve. So each firm ignoring that interdependency, plan to sell according to the planned sales demand curve. So each firm will be behaving according to their own planned sales demand curve. But what they will actually realize, will be the proportional demand curve. They will be realizing the actual sales demand curve. Actual means when one firm reduces the price. Suppose if I consider that earlier all firms were charging price P1, all were charging price P1. Then if one firm reduces the price and if others do not follow, then this firm plans to increase its sales up to this. But if all others also follow the price reduction, that means all are now charging price P2, then this firm will not be able to realize its planned sales. It will be able to realize a lower amount of sales. That lower amount you can mark anywhere. So a firm reduces the price in the expectation that it will be able to increase sales from Q1 to Q2. But when all others also reduce the price, that firm will able to realize a lower quantity of sales. That means if all firms are charging price P2, then how much demand goes to a firm is this. When all firms were charging price P1, the demand goes to one firm was this. So if you connect these dots, then this will be referred to the proportional demand curve or actual sales demand curve. In fact, what happens that when one firm reduces the price, if others do not react, this will be the point. If others react, this will be the point. So next time the planned sales demand curve again shifts and it shifts downward. Next demand curve. Again the one firm believes that if that firm will reduce the price, it will be able to increase the sales. It will be able to sales more as per the planned sales demand curve. But again that firm will be able to realize a lower amount of sales. So every time firm reduces the price in the expectation to sell more, but that firm is able to realize lower amount of sales. that means the firm is suffering from myopic behavior. Every time one firm reduces the price, assuming that others will not react, but in fact every time others are reacting, but that firm is not learning from that past error or past mistake. So firms are assumed to be myopic in that sense. You can write it as a limitation of the Chamberlain model, but firms are myopic in that sense. So in fact there are various planned sales demand curve. There are various planned sales demand curve. Again, planned sales demand curve will be passing through this point. So you can say that there is one planned sales demand curve, second planned sales demand curve, third planned sales demand curve. At every planned sales demand curve, there will be one point where price charged by all firms will remain same. So if I consider this price, next price, third price, then by connecting those points, I get the proportional demand curve. So this is the actual sales demand curve. Actual sales demand curve, that means on every perceived, remember, out of various perceived, out of various plan, one will be realized. So these are at different prices planned by a firm, assuming that others are not changing the price. And this proportional demand curve indicate what? When all firms will be charging same price, how much demand goes to one particular firm. So out of various plans, one get realized. So all those dots, when you connect, then you get the proportional demand curve. It is also known as market share demand curve. Market share demand curve will be also denoted by this proportional demand curve. So a proportion of the total market goes to one particular firm, and we are assuming that in the Chamberlain model that demand is uniformly distributed, which means if there are 20 firms, each will have a market share of 5%, 25 firms each will have a market share of 4%. So demand is uniformly distributed. So this will be the proportional demand curve or market share demand curve or actual sales demand curve. So just make a difference between perceived and proportional, not in tabular form, but you can write it in point form. One point will be highlighting one difference, second point will be highlighting second difference. So I hope this concept is clear. Planned sales demand curve or perceived demand curve indicate what? How much demand goes to one firm when that firm reduces the price, assuming that others do not reduce the price, assuming that others remain passive. And what does market demand curve or proportional demand curve represent? How much demand goes to one firm when all firms charge same price. So when all firms charge same price, that means that will be a market equilibrium point, because at market equilibrium all firms must be charging the same price, because we assume that demand function is uniform, demand is uniformly distributed, and also that cost is identical. So when we have identical cost, identical demand, that means all firms are symmetric. So when one firm will be in equilibrium, the market will also be in equilibrium. Clear? So just write down the major differences. One more difference you can note here is that the planned sales demand curve will be flatter as compared to proportional, and the reason is clear. On planned sales demand curve, we assume that others are not following the price reduction. On actual demand curve, we assume that others are also reducing the price. So if you assume that others will not react, your demand curve will have a greater elasticity. When others will also react, your demand curve will have a lower elasticity. So proportional demand curve will be steeper and planned sales demand curve will be flatter. When in any question I said that firms are engaged into price competition. So firms are engaged into price competition means what? One firm reduces the price in the expectation to increase its sales. Others firm also then follow subsequently, but one firm reduces the price. So when firms reduces the price in order to increase its sales, the firms are behaving according to their planned sales demand curve. But if I say firms are engaged into non-price competition, so when they are engaged into non-price competition, it means what? They are not competing by reducing the price. They are charging same price, but they are competing on the basis of sales promotion. They are competing on the basis of advertisement. So when they are engaged into non-price competition, it means all are charging same price. And remember, On which demand curve all are charging same price? On the proportional demand curve. On proportional demand curve all are charging same price. So if this is the point, it means all are charging price P1. If this is the point, it means all are charging price P2. Next point, all are charging price P3. So in the case of non-price competition, proportional demand curve will be more relevant, and in the case of price competition, perceived demand curve will be more relevant. So you have to just remember those points, because those points will be relevant in order to understand the Chamberlain model. So there is a little complexity in that model, particularly in third part, but even in order to understand model A or model B, you need to be very clear about the difference between perceived demand curve and the proportional demand curve, because we are using both the demand curve. So I hope the difference between perceived and proportional is clear. So we'll be continuing with this part, but first write down the difference in point wise.